Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Brendan Griffiths. This is the show where we bring on those from the world of football to show you what it takes to be in the 11 at the highest possible level here at the In the 11 podcast. You've probably just listened to part one of the Stephen Flora episode. This is going to be the very beginning of part two, a lot to do with his professional career and everything that had to do with his injury and where he is at now. This is a great conversation. I don't want to leave too much here at the top for me, just chit-chatting. So let's get right into the episode. Here's myself and I think that's what's hard about a career in football is whether it's your collegiate career or whether it's your professional career is like you kind of have to experience a lot of different teams to be able to find one that's actually a perfect fit for you. Like, and that's what's hard, I think, about like, especially a pro career is like your first 1, 2, 3, like 4 potentially teams and contracts could be straight up terrible. Like, that's just the reality of it. You know, when you're first trying to break into the game, like, especially that first contract, it can be really bad. Like, it can be a lower level or it can be like not great money or not great living situation. Like, and you have to really kind of push past that in order to get to the second one. Maybe it gets a little bit better. But like you said, maybe you get in a place where, yeah, sure, it's better level, but the culture's not great. And it's like not really a fun training environment or a good coaching staff or whatever the case may be. Like, so it kind of takes sometimes, I think, a little bit of trial and error, I guess, where, you know, there are some players that get really lucky and they find a home and they're like, this is where I'm going to spend my career, whether it be college or pro, right? And those players like are blessed. And then there's unfortunately a lot more of us that are like more the journeymen that have to kind of keep bouncing around till we can find a home that's like really a home. So then when you have that experience at Azusa, obviously, like you said, you made great connections from it, and then maybe it left a little bit to be desired in terms of what you got out of like the playing, and maybe wish you had played a little bit more, had built more of a resume up for yourself. Like, how did you then attack the professional dream after that season that you had, ending in college?
Yeah, so when I graduated college, like it was again an easy I could any other person would have just said, yeah, okay, I had a decent career, that was fun. Like let's just go on to regular life, you know? Like
Yeah.
I had no real reason to think that I'm able to play. I mean, I was barely playing at a D2. Granted, we were like a really good D2, but it's like I can barely play there. Why would I be able to play at a higher level? But then I mean, still, like I said earlier, like in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, no, like I'm still gonna keep playing. Like I'm not just. I mean, I'm only 22 at the time. I'm not gonna stop now. You know, like I'm at
Hmm.
least gonna give it another couple of years, at least. You know, like I have no rush to start a boring life yet. You know, so yeah, so basically, I the season ended. I want to say sometime in November. I graduated in December. And sometime in that same December, I went to a combine. I don't know if you know them, PSC. They're okay. I mean, I went to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
you pay kind of a lot of money, but yeah, I went to this combine, and that. I mean, honestly, I thought I played really well. Like, I really thought I thought I played really well over the 3 days. I thought for sure one of the teams, because there was a decent amount of teams there, from just like some USL teams, a lot of teams from like just over Europe.
Hmm.
I thought for sure I was gonna get picked up, but I didn't. But so yeah, I didn't get picked up, but I ended up emailing like the agency or like the PSC because I was like, hey, like I mean, yeah, like I just was kind of proactive about it, and like I emailed them like 2 weeks after, and I was like, hey, like I know I was talking to this coach after it was this team in Sweden. I was like, did they like, is there any way I can get in contact with them or like any other like opportunity you might have for me? And they're like, well, you can play with our UPSL team if you want. And I was like, okay, like I mean that's better than nothing. So,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I mean, if it's their UPSL team, maybe they'll know other team, like they'll be able to place me at some time, anyways. So yeah, now it's like January of 2019, and so I start playing with their UPSL team a couple times a week. I've got a coaching job at a gym. or like an athletic academy, and I'm coaching a high school team too. And then I'm just
Mm-hmm.
training in the morning, coaching during the day, and then I play with that team at night, the UPSL team. And so that's just my day every day, just boom, boom, boom. And I'm doing that from like January until like May, just boom, 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 like getting super fit, training every day, coaching every day, like yeah, playing 90 minutes with that team every game too. So, and at this point too, in college I had made the shift to outside back a little bit, but with this team they had like fully made me the shift to outside back. So post college,
Okay.
I'm like a right back or left back, and it kind of like I think at that level, it just suited me a little bit better because it just I don't know. I mean, I'd say like 1v1s are my best strength, and that's most people's worst strength.
Mm.
So that's why it's just good for me to be as an outside back, and then I also get up a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where I was, and then yeah, actually one other kind of notable thing I completely forgot about, but because I was still like going to different like tryouts and stuff if I could, and there was one team in particular, it was a USL 2 team, San Diego Zest. I don't think they're still around, but um I went to an open tryout. They invited me in for their preseason, and so I went to like the first 2 weeks of training, and they were really good. Like they were really good. Like they was like all D1 kids pretty much, like UCLA kids, UC Irvine kids. Like really good players. Yeah, maybe a few or yeah, some UC San Diego kids. Like I was like on paper like the lowest guy there, but I still was like,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly thought I held my own pretty well. Like, I mean, no, I know for a fact, like, I held my own really well. Like, and over the 2 weeks, it kind of was like a similar, like, Chico experience, though, where it was like, I could just tell the coaches they just weren't really into it. I don't know why. I don't know why. It maybe just was like they had recruited these other guys, and I'm just the kid from the open tryout. I don't know what it was, but
Mm-hmm.
they still nonetheless they sent me the schedule for like the whole season, that whole spring season. And so I'm like literally like trying to like plan a move to San Diego basically. And then the crazy thing is, so we have like our first game on a Saturday morning at like I'm gonna have to leave Azusa where I'm living at the time. I'm gonna have to, and I'm living on literally one of my old teammates' couches at the time too.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to leave there at like 7 a.m. or so because the game's at like 9 or 10 or whatever. And I literally wake up and they texted me at like 6 a.m. or they emailed me at like 6 a.m. and just said like, hey, like we don't need you anymore. And it was like just a hard cut, just a hard cut. I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, like I mean, no, I was pretty annoyed in the moment actually, but um, yeah, and I even emailed them back. I was like, is there a reason? And they just said like you're like they just said something like Chico. They were just like, yeah, we don't need your playing style or something like that. I'm just like,
Mm.
that's not really a real answer, but okay, I guess like
Yeah.
at the
It's
end of
all
the
I'm gonna
day,
get.
like you have to do. I guess someone's got to get cut, so I guess like whatever. It's a tough business,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, super similar to Chico because like I remember like the week before, like we had done the beep test and I'd got like third or fourth on it too, out of like 30 guys, and I was like, I mean, I gotta say, yeah, I thought I was hitting my stride really good, but anyway, so once that happened, and now I'm officially not on a USL 2 team. I'm just playing with this UPSL team, which is decent, but like it's just not really like it's not really going anywhere. It's like it gets to like
Yeah.
May, and just I'm not really going anywhere. It's like 4 months have gone by, and it's like okay, yeah, like I'm emailing agents, no one's really responding. I'm emailing teams, no one's really responding. It's like, I'm getting better maybe, but I'm like I need to do something. So
Mm.
anyways, an agent ended up responding to me, and it's like, hey, like we can get you a trial with a sixth division team out in Germany. So I was like, okay, like that's like literally they said this on like maybe April 30th. I literally bought my ticket on May 1st and I left on May 2nd. Like, I mean, like literally I bought the ticket the day before I flew for sure. Thought about it for maybe
Yeah.
one day before all that. Yeah. And so I go there. Um, and yeah, they followed through with their word. And, I mean, it was actually pretty close to Frankfurt too. I don't know if it was the same team as yours, but it was called Mannheim, FC Mannheim. No, or not FC, VFR.
Okay, I'm familiar with that team. It
But
wasn't the same team, but I know that team.
yeah, yeah. So it was sixth division. But they were like pretty professional though. Like it was lower, but I'm pretty sure all those players were getting paid. Anyway, so I try out with them for like 3 weeks. Similar to that San Diego team, honestly thought I did really, really well. I mean, like, I feel like when I'm doing well, like I'm consistently beating other players. Like if I'm like to compare myself against other players, like I'm scoring the winning goal or making the winning tackle more than once. Like I'm like noticeably on the winning team a lot, you know. So that's why it's
Hmm.
like I mean, just based on that alone, you'd think I'm doing good, but whatever. Yeah, so I'm there for like 3 weeks. It goes really good. The coach on the last day, because it's like through the end of their season in May. Um, the coach on the last day says like a bunch of really good stuff to me, in English, thankfully. And then like the agent says some good stuff to me, and he's like, "Hey, I have a friend in Munich." So he's like, "Yeah, the trial's done. Like, we'll let you know our decision in a few weeks." So I go to Munich to visit my friend. I play with his team too. It's in like the eighth division, but play with it just for fun. Easily would have made that team. Like their coach would have taken me after one day, basically. That's a little lower though. But yeah, basically then I'm still waiting for the agent. He's just not responding really, or he's just like saying, "Hold on, give me one more week. Give me one more week." So then I'm just like kind of stalling. I go to Spain for a bit, just like look around, and then it just gets to the point where it's like June 20th, so about a month has passed,
Hmm.
and it's like, all right, I'm gonna just go back to the States, I guess. So I get back to the States, and like literally like 2 days after I got to the States, um, the agent calls me and he basically says, because I was there trialing with two others, and they were both Americans too,
Hmm.
and he did the same thing where he's like, yeah, like we're gonna take these two other guys, and like we still don't know about you, you know, we still don't know about you, probably not, like,
Huh.
and honestly, in the moment, I was like, I mean, it was a classic cut phone call, but it was like it still was in the moment. I was like, I'm just still gonna show up. Like I know when preseason is, I'm gonna show up. Like in the moment, I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, it's like July, whatever. Like I'm just gonna go back. You're gonna have to tell me to my
Hmm.
face type of thing. Like as I know I'm good enough to play there. Like I know I'm good enough for a contract there. Like I'm positive of it. So um, yeah, this is again where the story gets crazy. So I go back to LA, fully planning on going to Germany. Fully planning on going to Germany. I'm staying on like an old professor's couch at the time. Like literally just yeah, yeah. I mean, there's still just so many details I'm leaving out, but yeah, just living on a couch, and just training, just literally training like constantly. Because like luckily where I was coaching, it was at this indoor arena, and there's a gym in the back and an indoor field, and I could just use both whenever I wanted, pretty much. So I'll just
Hmm.
like back to back, whether it's individual, hit up some of the Azusa guys. I had this other friend named Gerardo. He would just come out with me like every day, basically. Yeah, just training, training, training from June until yeah, whenever. And basically, so then like kind of just waiting on when I'm gonna buy my plane ticket. Then one day, one of my friends, he hits me up and he's like, asked if I wanted to play in an indoor game with him, like at that same arena. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, okay, like yeah, like I'm basically gonna say yes to any soccer thing, even if it's just like an adult league. So I go to this adult league. Team gets absolutely smacked, but I still had a few good goals. I had a few good megs. Like I played pretty good overall. It's just like whatever, you know, it's what it is. Normally would have just gone home, whatever. But the
Hmm.
ref of that game, he used to be like affiliated with the pro team, the pro Ontario Fury team. And so like as I'm
Okay.
leaving, he like stops me. He's like, hold on. He's like, hold on. Like, have you ever played like pro indoor? And I'm like, no. And then he's like, well, dude, like they have a tryout this weekend. Like, I'll be there. If you go there, like I'll introduce you to everyone, and like I think you can make it. And I'm like, are you serious? Like pro indoor? I'm like, Jameer Jones is on that team. Um, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Like I don't really know anything about indoor besides that. Yeah. So then I'm just like, whatever. I got nothing to lose. It's like a $20 tryout fee, whatever. So I go to the tryout a week later, and yeah, I meet the coach, I meet the GM, I meet the owner, And again, kind of like I said with the Azusa tryouts, it was one of those tryouts where as I'm leaving, I'm just like, dude, I made it. I'm just, and as I'm leaving, I'm just
Mhm.
like, there's absolutely no chance. If they're gonna take anybody, it had to be me. Like it had, like I just went full beast mode. Yeah. So, now as I'm leaving, this is now maybe like the first week of July, give or take, and it's like I'm within a week of if I'm gonna go to Germany or not. I'm like within a week of it, and
Yeah.
so, and not only that, I figured worst case scenario, even if I go to Germany and they decline me, I'll just find a different team. Like I'll hit up another agent, or I think the agent was saying we can try you out with other teams. So
Hmm.
yeah. Anyways, but I leave that Fury tryout with just such a good feeling, kind of like I did with the Azusa team. Was just such a good feeling. I'm like, man, this coach, like, he was just like hyping me up. Like, this was a good feeling. And I'm like, I mean, even though it's indoor, like, it's pro. I mean, these guys are making decent money. Like, I mean, Jermaine Jones wouldn't be there for nothing, you know. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I'm like, I mean, and plus I get to stay in Ontario or like LA area too, and yeah, just like it kind of fits, you know. Um, and then also like literally simultaneously, one of my old Azusa teammates, he had hit me up if I wanted to live with him in Ontario, and I met a guy at the Ontario tryout that was had an NPSL team that I could play with too in the meantime. So then basically
Hmm.
from July, because the thing is Ontario's preseason doesn't start till November, so I'm July, August, September, and October, and I'm now playing with the old UPSL team and a new NPSL team, and just by myself every single day. And I'm just like
Hmm.
literally just on the hope that I'm gonna get called by Ontario, and actually not necessarily
Yeah.
by the hope, because actually sometime I want to say in August, one of the captains reached out to me and he like invited me to their captain's practices. So once it's like August, I'm like, okay, I know I'm on the list. Like I know
Yeah.
I'm getting invited to preseason, and I'm like, again, even though I have no real reason to believe this based off of what happened in Germany or in San Diego, in my head I'm thinking if I get invited to a preseason, there's no way they can cut me. That's just not possible. Like there's just no
Yeah.
way. I'm too good of a player. I work too hard. I mean, even though I don't know much about indoor, like I know I can play. Like I have enough
Yeah.
confidence in myself. I know I can play. Um, and yeah, so basically, so again, just something crazy. So I'm keep at it. I go to every captain's practice, every game of my NPSL team, everything I'm doing right. I know because I'm talking to these players that are on the real team, and these are like MVPs of the league. Like these guys are making like actually good money, and
Hmm.
I'm talking to them all the time, and they're saying good things to me and stuff. And they're like, yeah, like preseason starts like November 3rd, and so we didn't have captain's practice like the week before, and so it gets to November 2nd, and I still haven't received an email or text or nothing from like the actual team.
Wow. Yeah.
And November 3rd comes, I still receive nothing. So we're at the point where again, what was this like that I mentioned earlier, where like I had to go out of my like the combine, where I'm like most people would have just okay, I don't receive an email. I guess I guess I didn't get invited. But I literally went out
Hmm.
of my way. I called that guy from the ref from like months ago because I
Hmm.
had his phone number, and I called him. I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure they wanted me invited to preseason. Like, can you like hit up the coach or something, or just let me know when to go? And so, sure enough, I get like an email later that day, and the GM is like, yeah, sorry, I guess you didn't make the list, but yeah, just come tomorrow, basically. And so I went the next day, and yeah, so I kind of just made an opportunity for myself, I guess, but I don't know what happened there. But so I go the next day, and there's maybe like 15 or so trialists. This is now on a Tuesday. There's already
Wow.
like 15 or so trialists. The next day, there's only 10 or so trialists. The next day, there's like nine. The next day, there's eight. And then for the next
Hmm.
few weeks, they just cut one pretty much every day. Um, and then it gets to the end of the second week actually, and they end up signing three of the trialists to contracts, and then they left two or three of us as like just like non-contract or like nothing. Which I was one of those where like we didn't get cut, but we didn't get signed, so we're just like we're there if we want to be basically.
So you were
Um,
like practice
and
players, or
yeah,
were you
so
actually
then,
like a member of the team, or what was the situation with that?
I mean, I don't know. I like literally, I was not in any text group or email group, nothing. It was just like, hey, like this is when we train. If you show up, we'll give you a jersey. Like that's literally what it was for yeah. I mean, for 6 weeks I was like that actually. Anyways, and even just one more crazy thing too before I mention how I got signed is so after that second week when the three guys got signed, they had a friendly the next day on like that Saturday, and they listed like the 18 guys, and I literally was the 19th, like because I was like the one that didn't get signed, so I was literally the 19th, and
Yeah.
or I mean yeah. But I still got invited to go, and I could go in the locker room and whatever, and just like still see the stadium or the arena and stuff. And I was like, whatever, I'll go anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm gonna bring my cleats just in case I get to play, you know. So it was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I go, and sure enough, one guy he didn't come because he was sick or whatever. And they literally like the warm ups going. I'm just out there like in my jeans, and they're just like the assistant coach just comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, do you have your stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Go put it on. We're giving you a jersey." And I literally got to play in front of like a couple thousand people that day. It was insane. Yeah,
That's
like on no
awesome.
contract, but like I got to play in front of like a decent amount of people. Yeah. Um, yeah, touched the ball like 3 times. It was awesome. But yeah, got in for like 2 minutes at the end of the game, but it was cool. So,
Yeah.
um, anyways, yeah, so that's how I knew I was like 19. I was like, literally, I'm like one away. Like, I'm so
Mm-hmm.
close. Like, I'm so close. Like, it's just not even funny how close. So, anyways, then I just keep going day after day, day after day, and I again, kind of common theme. I'm starting to get this reputation around the team of like the guy that's there early, the guy that stays late. The the training facility had like a weight room. The guy that's in the weight room sometimes. The guy that's asking questions. Granted, I will say definitely in this case, ironically, if there was ever a time where I was the worst player on the team, this was the time. Because these, especially with
Mm-hmm.
indoor, there's kind of a learning curve. And I would say, like, not that I couldn't hang, but yeah, like, I mean, there would be days where I'd get kind of dogged. Like, I'd get kind of like just, whereas I never felt like that on any of the other teams I got cut by. But it was like, still
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. Indoor is just such a fast paced game that, like, you can't really ever, like, remember your mistakes. And even though the coach would yell at me sometimes, it was just like, I was just so determined. It was just like, whatever. It was just like, yeah, like, boom, 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 like, whatever. And it was like, hey, he's a young player. He's willing to learn. He's good. Yeah. So there's still a lot of positives coming from me. But ironically, my playing ability was not really one of them.
Mm.
Anyways, so we're 6 weeks into the season or into the preseason slash season. We've lost the first few games, and I have like an average practice, I'd say, like not even really that good. But we're literally like in the we're and keep in mind like I've like not had like any meeting with the coach. Like I'm just like yeah, I'm just there. Like I'm just there to get better. If I get signed, I get signed. If not, then at least it's doing something until I get another opportunity.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, they call the team into like the huddle, like say we have a game the next day, like this is the plan, whatever, this and that. And then like at the very end, he's like, oh yeah, like by the way, like Steven, everyone's noticed the amount of work you put in. We're gonna offer you a contract. And I'm like,
Oh, that's awesome.
no way. Like I'm literally just it was like this like crazy moment of like is this like a joke? Like is this serious? And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, like we are serious. We are very serious. He's like literally right after this, like go get showered, head to the office, and we'll have it ready for you. Um yeah. And so yeah, I mean, and then it was just awesome too cuz like all the players too, like I mean, it was funny because like it was kind of one of those environments. I'd say it was comparable to like Azusa, where it's like it was still pretty cutthroat, but it was cool to see how all those players were still really happy for me and like
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know how it happened. I literally don't know. There must have been some conversations that went on behind the scene. Someone might have seen me do something. I don't know how it happened, but next thing I know, I'm getting a paycheck the next week. So, I mean,
Yeah. That's unreal.
it
Yeah.
wasn't for much, but it was like yeah, I mean, it was enough to pay my very few bills. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So, and I got to I had a jersey with my name on it the very next day, and I suited up for that game. I didn't play, but a few days later, I made my debut, and I mean, I guess the rest is history. Although the rest is history, but unfortunately, that was probably like the highest moment I had with Fury, or really with anything. Was that like just initial like because finally it was kind of like the Chico thing where I
Mm.
spent all that time working, and then I just get nothing. Whereas this, I spent all the time working, and then it was like I finally got it, and it was like, oh my gosh, like that was like to me that was like 1,000 times better than even just when I signed my scholarship in college or got to play in college. Like that was like better than any goal I'd ever scored. It was like, yeah. I mean, granted, I will say most people when they say they sign their contract, and I can kind of relate to where they're like, yeah, it was good, but I was just so tired or whatever. I was so expected, but mine came
Mm.
as just such a surprise. And I mean, again, kind of like the Azusa thing, where like my mom signed me up for that camp with the Ontario thing. It was literally a pickup game. I would have never gone to that tryout if I didn't go to that game. Like it's just
Yeah.
crazy to think. Yeah, it's just crazy to think like what opportunity is around the corner that you have no idea is. So
Yeah. That's
you
the
just
way the
never know
game
who's
works. It
watching
works in
and what's
mysterious
gonna happen.
ways.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. So, um, yeah. I mean, honestly, like, yeah, I would say like that would be typically where I would just kind of cut myself off and just say that's like the end of the story. But the crazy thing is actually that happened in 2019. So there's still a
Yeah.
few more years after that. So
So
yeah.
I know
But
I
honestly,
know we're going into you have your time in you have Spain, and then you signed another contract in Andorra, I believe, and then obviously I want to talk a little bit about kind of what you're up to right now, with your injury and stuff, and kind of what the plans are for the future. Um, so after you left Ontario and that indoor team, like, what was the logic kind of behind going to Spain, and maybe I definitely want to kind of hear the story of Spain, but if you can kind of summarize maybe that portion a little bit, just so we can make sure to cover, the Andorra
I
part and the
know.
injury as
Yeah.
well.
No, I was just thinking this might have to turn into almost a two-part thing, but I'm gonna try and make it
Yeah,
fast. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, no, so Ontario, and I can't. You're gonna have to just cut this some way or another because I can't explain the story without just like mentioning so many details. Um, so yeah, really quick with Ontario. I mean, I never really played a ton. I got on
mm,
the field here and there, but like as a rookie or even as a younger player, because most of the players in the indoor league they've been around for a while, and you just get thrashed around as a young guy. Like it was just fine. Like it is what it is. Like I accepted it. Like and ultimately, kind of like Azusa and teams like that. Like I don't have anything really negative to say about them. Like ultimately, it was a good winning culture. Ultimately, like
mm,
at the end of the day, I will say I did get a taste though of like okay now in college you get a little bit kind of like I mentioned like that first day at Chico. I got that taste of like okay now we're dealing with like actual like grown up soccer. This is like okay now you're dealing with like money in soccer. Now you're dealing with like okay like this guy might have a certain bonus or he gets paid by game, and if you take his spot, he's not getting paid as much.
yeah,
Or like I have an example, which I guess I don't know how much I really should share, but basically, like we lost a certain game, ended up costing our owner quite a lot of money, and
mm,
he's not happy about that. So I started then kind of hearing certain things along the lines of like, and then maybe certain players who have been in the league a little bit longer have a little higher status and kind of get away with saying certain things, whereas a younger
mm,
player can't. So there was, trust me, definitely my fair share of ups and downs and learning curves of like, oh dang, like this is professional soccer. This is like, yeah, you can't just do that. Like you can't just say that. Like someone's gonna see that and like, I mean, granted, it wasn't a huge team, but like, I mean, the games got loud. The game, it felt big when you're on the field. So
yeah.
yeah. It definitely added a level of pressure to playing. That's the only thing I guess my only negative to like that team or professional soccer in general is that it is very hard to like not have pressure. Like, and not that pressure is a bad thing, but like I don't know. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's hard to explain when like like your contract is on the line or your teammate's contract is on the line, or like, I mean, for an example, we ended up getting to the final on my second year at the Fury, and I won't say the number, but we were gonna all get a very big bonus if we
Mm-hmm.
won that game. And I mean, we got teammates from Brazil who are trying to send that money to their family, and when we
Mm-hmm.
lost that game, they're not gonna get paid as much. So, um, so I'm not gonna lie, like adding stuff like that, I mean, it just is what it is. It's just something you can, I guess here's what I'll say. It's something, and there's a lot of things similar to like that first day of college soccer. It's something you just can't quite prepare for. I think you can
Yeah.
try, but until you actually get told those words or see that check or see this thing, and that goes for the good things too. Yeah, that goes for the good things too. Like you just can't even imagine what that feeling is quite like. I mean, which is what makes it so thrilling, I guess. Of like, man, like this is just unbelievable that I get to live a life that I get to experience these highs and these lows. Like, and I mean,
Mm.
honestly, I could say the exact same thing when I talk about my injury. Of like, if I were to give somebody advice on this injury, there's literally nothing I could tell them because obviously I knew before this happened that this would be really, really hard and suck and painful. And it's just so much worse than I could have imagined. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like you just can't even fathom it until you it happens. It's like what someone asked, well, what's it like? How painful is it when your leg breaks? I mean, unless somebody literally snaps your leg in half, you're not gonna know. It's very
Yeah.
painful
You can't
though.
describe. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, just a decent little, just at least overview of Ontario.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, where it kind of, I guess, goes a little bit badly. So we lose that final in 2021. Wait, no, 20. Wait. Yeah, so we made it all the way to the final. Here, like, I guess here's why this year was so crazy for me. For one of my teammates from the 2020 season, who would have been in the 2021 season, he ended up dying that summer, like in a boat accident. So
Oh
like
my
we
gosh.
like the whole year we're like playing with like his number on our chest basically, and we're like we end up getting to the final. And keep in mind, I don't even, and actually this year I don't play a single game. I traveled every game or almost every
Mm.
game, and I'm on the roster for almost every game. I don't play a single game until the final, and then I play in the final. So I'm like literally, and we go on like a super long win streak in the beginning too. We did end up losing a few games, but yeah, like I mean, it's just like this insane amount of pressure. Like again, like you just can't even like describe how much like I mean, like that kid's like parents are like are like in the same locker room as me, and I'm like, it's just not something. I mean, granted, I guess maybe some people really thrive under that pressure. I gotta just say from experience, it's just tough. It's just tough. I
Yeah.
mean, especially when we lost. If we would have won, if we would have, and here's the thing, we got to the basically like long story short, we lost in the last minute of the game. We were
Oh.
winning with 5 minutes to go, and they scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes, and one of the goals was in the last minute of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and we lost on our home field to our biggest rivals in front of thousands of fans, and it just was like that was again I gotta say, I mean, as much fun as I had in Ontario, oh man, that was like that night was like the
Yeah. That's a
worst.
heart wrenching
That
moment.
was like, I mean, I can't even imagine it because it's still, if you're to compare it to like any bigger league, it's still not that big of a deal. But like, man, this was a big loss for me. I mean, this is like a loss I still haven't recovered from. Like, and so,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. So that night, it was just a tough night, and I hate to say it, but the week after, the week after, I was on a 3-year contract. They had upped me. Oh my gosh, I left out another detail. Before my second year, I got invited to play with 1904 in Nisa as well, and I turned it
Mm-hmm.
down to play with Ontario again because they offered me a 3-year contract. And I was like, I think this next year is going to be my year. Again, it's just so many things that build up to that final, that losing in the final. Like so many things that built up. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I mean, yeah, it's just impossible to put it all into words. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, like a week, like the week, maybe even 2 weeks after, like literally did not play soccer for like 2 straight weeks. Like I was
Hmm.
just so bummed out. Like I was just fed up with it. It was like, yeah, this ain't worth it. I kind of like I'm still saying where it's like sometimes you get to that moment where the amount of pressure and pain, it is debatable if it's worth it. It's like, dude, I mean, a normal person doesn't have to go through this. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's why, I mean, honestly, I don't need to talk about it today, but like, and I mean, for myself, I'm good on the most part, but like, it's why a lot of people or a lot of athletes suffer with like mental illnesses and stuff because
Yeah.
you put so much on your shoulders. And like, you, not only that, you put so much into the game and so much hours and so much literally blood, sweat, tears, and everything else into it. And just for it to be changed by 1 minute, just 1 minute
Yeah.
to just change everything. I can tell you for like confidently, if we would have won that game, I would still be in Ontario right now. Like I would still be in Ontario
Mm.
right now. I would have never gone to Spain. None of that. If we would have won that game, 1 minute would have changed everything. But that 1 minute, I'm just such a like take a loss the hard way that it was like, man, I couldn't even look my teammates in the eyes afterwards. It's just like we're just all crying. This is one time we are just all crying. We're just like, I
Yeah.
can't believe we just lost. And so this happens in the end of April, April like 20, so April about 20th, more or less. And so I go, yeah, all the way till May, no soccer, like literally no soccer at all. You know, and I mean, I'm still on contract with the Fury. I'm kind of worried that I'm going to get cut because we lost that game, but ultimately, the owners and the coaches still really liked me, so like I was never going to get cut. But I just in my head at this point, I'm just like thinking I can't. I mean, I could go back to Fury, but I'm just thinking like maybe it's time to just start something new and just start a new chapter. Like in my head, that's
Hmm.
what I'm thinking. I'm like, granted, I ultimately don't have anything against Fury. I don't like, they treated me, I guess, for the most part, pretty well. They could have I mean, they didn't have to sign me that year. They could have just said, hey, I mean, like I said, I was kind of a struggling player when they signed me, and even towards the end, I was kind of a struggling player in that league. Like I wasn't like a big name by any means. And they kind of took a chance on me. They took a chance on me, and I mean, it is what it is. But anyways, it got to the point where in May, I'm just like, it's funny how it works because I'm like, I wouldn't say I was like depressed, but I was just over soccer. I was just over it. I was
Mm.
like, I need to just distract myself, hang out with friends, go on a vacation, whatever it may be. But sure enough, like a few weeks pass, and I'm just like, I find myself not necessarily playing soccer, but then I start going on a lot of runs, and I'm like, the competitive myself and the competitive side of myself starts coming out again, and it's like I'm running doing these 3 mile runs, and I'm like 21 minutes. Okay, I want to get to 20 minutes. Okay, I want to get to 19, and then like, and I'm like doing
Hmm.
these runs, and all of a sudden I'm kind of getting a taste for it again, and then go into the weight room a little bit, and then finally, okay, maybe I go and invite a few guys out to kick the ball around. Next thing I know, I'm like actually training again, and all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
like I kind of just had to ease back into it, but it's just too much of a part of me that I couldn't completely let go. I guess I just needed a break because honestly, for my entire life up until then, I don't think I'd ever taken 7 days away from soccer. I like
Mm.
literally, I don't think, maybe not even 2 days, honestly. Like, so I took probably like 14 good ones off, like completely off of soccer. Um, and then I just like, yeah, and then I guess like the way to put it is I just got tired of being tired. Like, I just got tired of like feeling bad for myself, and I was like, you know what, like, it kind of like with the Chico thing, it's like, okay, like realistically, like, I mean, what, like, what like sitting around and feeling bad is not going to do anything. So let's come up with a plan. Like, let's come up with a plan. Like, if we're going to go back to Fury, that's fine. Let's do it. If we're not going to go back to Fury, are we going to keep playing soccer or not? And so basically,
Mm.
like, I kind of just pulled out a notebook, wrote out a bunch of ideas, and I was like, you know what? Like, I've been out to Europe before. I really like Spain. Like, why don't I go try and play out in Spain? it's like June at this point. I'm like, hey, their preseason starts in July. Um, let's do it. Like let's do it. Let's go to Spain. Like let's make it happen. So yeah, I mean that's literally how it started out. So I ended up going back to Azusa. I talked to that old assistant coach. I talked with him a bit, and yeah, he's like, dude, go for it. And so he trained with him a bit, play a few 11-a-side games here and there, and then the crazy thing is, right before I'm about to go to Spain, I still haven't bought the ticket yet. The coach from Michigan Stars the owner calls me from Michigan Stars randomly. Granted, I had probably sent him my highlights and stuff like a year before, but he calls me and he's like, hey, like, is this Steven? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, hey, like, do you want to come trial with Michigan Stars? And I'm like, I guess, like, I mean, I can't say no, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I got Spain on my mind. I'm like, I want to go to Spain though. I don't want to just go to Nisa. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I could, but like, if I'm going to go to Nisa, I'll just stay with Fury probably. So anyways, he's like, yeah, well, he's basically like, let me know what you decide. Basically like, we'll house you and whatever. If you come out, just, you got to pay for your flight. That's it. So I end up, this is now like July 1st. I respond to him and I'm like, yeah, I'll come next week. So I come out like July 5th or 6th and I go trial with Michigan Stars for a week. And I absolutely kill it, just like I did in my other trials. And I'm like pretty sure I was like working my way to be probably a starter there. And after a week, they had moved me into like a new house. Like this was going to be my spot. They hadn't offered me a contract yet, but like I'm fairly sure they were going to. Like, yeah, I'm pretty confident. Then again, I was wrong before, but anyways, it doesn't even matter because it gets to the end of the first week on the Friday. And the thing is with this team, I guess not to put them on blast because this is a public platform, but let's just say there was a lot of things that going on with that team that I didn't like, put it that way. Okay. I did not get the same feeling that I did with Azusa or Fury even, or what was the other team? Oh, Tahoe. Did not get that feeling from them at all. I was like, this is just a dangerous game to play. I already had my mindset on Spain anyways, so yeah. Basically, I bought my ticket from Michigan to Spain that Friday. Saturday, I go to practice, and I tell the coach and the owner afterwards, I'm like, hey, like, thank you for having me out, but I'm going to Spain today. And then and I went straight from there to the airport and went to Spain.
Wow.
Keep in mind, I have nothing set for me in Spain. Absolutely nothing in Spain. Walking away from pretty much a guaranteed contract, and definitely, I'm still on contract for Fury. I am still on contract for Fury, and I'm just hoping that they'll release me. And walking away from another contract just to go to Spain, just because of this just random feeling I have that's like, this is going to be a good decision, So yeah, it's crazy. So I literally show up in Spain at 6 o'clock in the morning. When I get there, I don't even have an Airbnb or hotel, nothing booked. It's pretty funny. So I get to the airport. I don't sleep the whole night on the plane. I get to the airport and I just sit on the chair, like out by the front. And I'm just like, before I even book a hotel or anything, I like just draft an email in Spanish, which I didn't speak at the time. But like one of my old friends, he like I called him and he was helping me put together the same highlight tape I had and stuff. And I just start sending it out. Like literally at the airport, I probably send out like 50. Then I get my Airbnb and stuff, get out there at like noon, and then I knock out for the night. Anyways, so you kind of can see where this story's going. So within the next week, I had sent over 1,100 emails to different teams, agents, anything. Not only that, but I was just like going out. I literally just bought a soccer ball and I would just go out to whatever like futsal court and I would play and I would just talk to people. With the limited Spanish I had, I would just talk to people and just see, okay, like I know preseason's starting soon. There's enough teams in Spain. Just get me on one. Even if they don't pay me, just like get me in the system. Just get me in the system and I'll do the rest, and I'll let my feet do the rest, So, so yeah, basically, throughout those emails, I got probably like 20 or 30 responses of like decent interest from mostly agents. And one of the agents, kind of like my Tahoe response, was like, "Hey, there's this team in Ciudad Rodrigo. It's like, it's right outside of Salamanca, which is a few hours from Madrid. So like you would have to move here. They're in the Tercera, which is the fifth division. But like they're newly promoted. So like they're financially, what was the word they used? Basically, they're like they don't have a lot of money, but like
Yeah.
we'll let you trial though. Like we'll take you in on a trial, and yeah, otherwise it's a good level. What do you think? And so yeah, basically I was like, dude, I mean, fifth division, that's not bad. Like, and their preseason, they had sent me their preseason too. They were playing against a bunch of third and fourth division teams too. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, if they're playing against teams like that is like legit exposure right there. Like that, I mean, what more could I ask for, So, all these other teams, like they're like probably even they're more like sixth, seventh division that I was talking with. So I'm like fifth, that's pretty good. Like, even if I don't get paid, that's pretty good. I mean, so I get out there, staying in an Airbnb for like $20 a night. And then the coach ends up helping me get a place that's 300 euros a month. So it's like, whatever. I had to pay for it, but
Mhm.
it's like not much,
Yeah.
But anyways, I trialed for like a week and then played in a few preseason games. I got to play literally after like a few days of trialing. I got to play against a third division team. Um, yeah, which was Unionistas of Salamanca and Real Valladolid, their B team.
Mm.
Um, yeah, both of those third division teams, and then a week later got to play against a fourth division team, and then after that, that one I played like 80 or 90, or not 90, but like 80, 85 minutes. Um, yeah, so I'm like, yeah, and they offered me. They're like, yeah, I mean, we can't really offer you any money, but we can sign you. I was like, okay. So I signed all the paperwork. Looks like it was all going to be good. Play the rest of the preseason. Every game played. Started most of them. Um, and yeah, it looked like it was going to be good. I was like, whatever. Like, I can take the hit on the money. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. So, um, and actually, no, that's actually not completely true. They were gonna pay per game if I had started playing in the league games, but yeah, I never got to that point though. So,
Uh,
but they were gonna pay me a little bit. It just, it wasn't much. It would have been like a couple hundred a month max. So, yeah, they would have helped me out. So not to like put them down per se, but yeah. Anyways, so I'm training with them like every day, going great. But the visa in Spain, because they're trying to put me on a student visa because to get like a pro soccer player or work visa, you have to be making like $8,000 a year. No, maybe more than that. It was like a lot. So,
mm.
it was more than 8,000 per year. It was, I think, maybe like 8,000 per month then. But
Yeah. I thought 8,000
yeah.
per month or
Anyways,
something like that.
so they were trying to get me on a student visa, and it just was taking forever. It just was literally taking forever. So I signed the stuff in like August, September latest, and then it gets to December, and I still don't have any word. I still don't have any word from the visa. I've gone to like multiple immigration offices throughout Spain, the federation office or the FIFA federation office in Spain. Talked to a bunch of people, and it's getting really frustrating. It's like it's a really good team, great coach, great environment, great spot. Super, super happy with the decision to be there. Still super happy with the decision to be there. Like, just literally living the dream. Like, literally just loving it. But I'm just not getting to play. So,
Mm.
yeah. Anyways, then it gets to like Christmas time, and I still haven't heard anything. So I end up coming back home, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just try and get in the USL or something, and just if I don't get the visa, I can't play. So I don't know what to say here.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I get home, start sending more emails to like more USL agents, and one of them responds to me. Now I'm saying, hey, yeah, like I've been in Spain playing with this team, Ciudad Rodrigo FC. Um, I just can't get a visa, but like I can play fifth division in Spain, maybe even higher, which I would equate pretty closely to like USL level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so I'm like, yeah, like, let me know what you think. And basically, an agent reaches back to me, and they're like, yeah, we think you can play USL, whatever, this or that. So they start sending their stuff around, and then basically he's like, hey, but actually, there's this team in Andorra, because I guess he knew the team that I had played with in Spain, because his partner is from Spain. And he's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
actually, like, my partner has a thing in Andorra, first division. Um, like, literally, like, they can qualify for Champions League, technically, in Europa League. Technically, like, he's like, I mean, they're
Yeah.
bottom of the table, and that just doesn't happen. But like, you're still playing first tier in Europe, like,
Yeah.
So he's like, and I can get you a spot contract, paid, guaranteed, like guaranteed. You can move there first week of January. Um, and I'm like, dang, I don't really want to leave Spain though. And then the next day, my Spanish visa comes in. Not even kidding. My
Oh
Spanish
my
visa comes in
God.
the next day. And so I'm like, dude, I just spent all this time in Spain, but am I really going to turn it down to go to Andorra?
Yeah.
And I did, yeah, obviously. I was like, it just was too good of an opportunity to say no, dude. I was like, honestly, I kind of already know the connections I'm going to build from Spain. And granted, I would have loved to have played out the season there, but Andorra it's just offering too much potential. Like the potential is just so big there. Um, Plus, like, yeah, just like I mean, all the games are like live streamed and just really, it's a professional league. Like, it's a very
Yeah.
professional league. Um, so yeah, I go there. Honestly, I don't need to talk about it too much, but I played 90 minutes every game. Besides one, I played like 80, and then March 20th, really big kick to the leg, and yeah, broke my leg. So
Oh my
uh,
gosh. What was the level like
yeah,
in that Andorra first league? Like I know you said you came in. Was that like league games that you were playing? Were you already into the season, or were you still in preseason at that point?
so yeah, I came in like the January transfer window. It was pretty high level. It was pretty high level. I mean, my team was bottom of the table. Like, they ended up getting relegated. So I mean, my team wasn't the best per se. I would still say, like, if I were to compare it to like Michigan Stars, way better, like way better.
Mm.
And I mean, I'd been with Michigan Stars just a few or a few months prior. Um, Probably just slightly better than my team in Spain, slightly. As a league, though, oh my gosh, way better. I mean, there's a lot of guys throughout that league that have played like first division in like Germany or France or wherever. I mean, there's a guy on my team that had played with Real Sociedad, another guy on my team that had played in the MLS. Um, a lot of guys that played maybe like first division in like Colombia. Um, just really good players, like really, really good players. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I mean, my team was, I mean, especially as an outside back, I would say I was clearly the best outside back, but in general, the level was really high. Like, I would
Mm.
say at least as high as USL championship, at least.
Mm.
I would say, but I haven't played in USL championship, so it's maybe I'm not able to say that. And I would personally rather play in USL championship because it's more, I mean, just way bigger league because we got like no fans in Andorra.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was a high level though. Like, there's just no way around it. It was a very high level. Like,
Yeah.
if you were to compare it to, yeah, like Nisa or college or something, much higher.
Mm.
Like, much higher. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, that's
Where are you at now in terms
but
of
yeah,
like the
yeah,
injury and I know that you said it happened in March, and when we were talking before, you're still kind of dealing with it even now to this day, and trying to get healed up. So like, where are you at in terms of that, and like, what are you kind of looking to like? What's the future hold, or do you even have you even gotten to that point yet?
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna try and make this kind of quick because this could be easily a part three. But no, I don't really like talking about it that much. Anyways, it's just not really great stuff. Basically, I mean, I'll just give you an overview of what the injury was slash is, and yeah, basically, so I go into like a 50-50 tackle pretty much against a guy a lot bigger than me, like 6'4", 200 pounds easy. Like, he is like full swing slide tackle over the
Mm.
ball, and just goes right. If this is my leg, just boom right into it. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, just instantly I knew it was broken. Instantly. Like, I mean, if you were to compare the pain from my wrist break, or I broke the wrist 3 times total, this was like 1,000 times worse than any of them. Like, this was
Oh
like,
my god.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just crazy. So the funny thing is, it was like in the 80 something minute, and my team was losing 2-1. So like, and I guess it didn't look that bad. So like, I'm on the ground, and I'm like not the kind of guy to like roll around and fake it or scream. So like, I'm just kind of
Mhm.
sitting there in pain and like just like holding my leg, and my teammates are like running up to me like, get up, like come on, like we gotta go. And I'm like, no, 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 like I
No.
can't move, like I can't move, no, like, and then like, and like literally, like I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like one of my best friends from Andorra, like that I'd met, was sharing a room with. Yeah, like he's the guy that like passed me the ball right before the tackle. So he's like the first guy with me, and like he can tell instantly because he knows me well. He can tell instantly, like I'm not joking, like, and so he's like, dude, like yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember what he said. He was like, do you need the stretcher? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, and then he's like, did you break your leg? I'm like, yes. He's like, can you move your toes? I'm like, no. I'm like, literally, I can't feel my toes, dude. And then he's like, so he's like starting to kind of freak out. And then I'm like, I'm telling him, I'm like, dude, just like get everyone else away from me because you know how it is. So
Yeah.
he's like helping me out a lot. They get me on the stretcher. Um, and I'm just like, dude, I mean, I'm in so much pain. Like, I'm in just so much pain. Like, it's just not even funny. Like, there's just nothing. Like I said earlier, there's just no way to describe it. So they stretcher me out into like the like medical room, and they're like already like putting an IV in me because, well, yeah, they're already putting an IV in me to get some pain meds in me because like I'm just like I'm not feeling good. Like, granted, I'm not really. I'm still like just I wouldn't say in shock, but like maybe my brain is kind of in shock where like I haven't fully contemplated what's happening. Like I guess there's a small part of me that's thinking, you know, maybe it'll just be just a knock. Like maybe it's just a dead leg.
Mm.
Maybe like even though I knew it wasn't, I'm just like I'm hoping maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Like I literally I couldn't look down at my legs. It felt bent though. Like it felt bent. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking, dude, I just hope it's not a compound fracture, you know. And so fortunately it wasn't. And yeah, I end up like the owner is like in the like medical room. And I ask him like, hey, does it like look bent? And he's like, no. And it turns out it definitely does. Like if you were to have
Yeah.
looked at it, like anybody else that saw it was like, yeah, that was very much bent. Um. Anyways, yeah. So I'm like, just oh, dude, I'm just yeah. Starting the game ends. The two other American guys, my two other friends, they come in, and yeah, at this point it starts hitting me pretty hard. I'm just like, dude, this isn't gonna just be okay. This is not just like a you don't get up from this one. Like you know.
Mm.
So an ambulance is already called. Next thing I know, I'm getting wheeled into an ambulance. You know. Now I'm really starting to freak out. I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, I'll save the details, I guess, but you can imagine how it would be when you're yeah. So now I'm really just like freaking out. I'm like calling my parents. I'm like in the ambulance. I'm just like telling them. I mean, I guess you can just imagine I'm in like pretty much full meltdown mode at this point. Like, dude, I mean,
Yeah.
my life is over. Like, yeah, like this is where dreams go to die. Like, this is as bad as it gets, you know.
Mm.
And honestly, like, I don't think I'll ever like how could I say it? Like, I don't think I'll ever think I was exaggerating. If anything, I was under exaggerating. I think. So then, I get to the hospital. They like literally are like because of COVID rules over there. They're like not trying to let my friends in to see me, and they're like, no, F it. Basically, they like hear my voice, and so they just walk by, and like as they get there, the doctor comes in. They before they X-rayed me, they told me I was gonna need surgery. Like, and it was broken
Yeah.
before. Like in the ambulance, they told me. Anyways, my friends come up, and then the doctor comes in at the same time, and I'm like, the doctors are literally just like, hey, like we're going to surgery right now, like literally right now. So I'd been in the hospital for like
Wow.
10 minutes, and I'm already going to surgery. And yeah, dude, it was just like one of those moments where like I just looked at my friends and like I was just like, I hope I see you in a few hours. Like, I mean, I didn't even really have
Yeah.
time to like freak out. Like, I just yeah, it just is like something that you never want to go through. And it only gets worse from here. It gets a lot worse. So, um, go through the surgery, wake up a few hours later. The doctor ends up telling me, okay, hey, yeah, went fine. You're all good. They're telling me, I'm like, right. The funny thing is, off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, how long of an injury is this? They're like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe 3 or 4 months. You'll be playing in 6 max. And I'm thinking, okay, I can wrap my mind around 6 months. Like that's like not even an ACL. Like that's not too bad. Granted, I'm in a ton of pain, but like,
Hmm.
it is what it is. They're like, you'll just be in the hospital 1 or 2 days, and then you'll be walking soon. I'm like, really? Okay. I mean, yeah, they basically they put a titanium rod through the thing, some screws down the side. Yeah. So, or through the tibia. Yeah. So it's still not a small surgery by any stretch of the imagination, but anyways, so the next morning I don't sleep. I yeah, at all. But they do. They come in at like 6 or 7 a.m. and they're looking at my foot or my leg, and it's just super swollen. Like it's not the swelling's not going down at all. And
Hmm.
then they like if this was my foot, they start like touching me like here, and I just can't feel it at all. Like I basically can't feel my toes. I definitely can't move my toes. And they're
Yeah.
like, "That's not good," pretty much. So
Yeah.
then
Never
they
good.
that morning they take me to yeah, so they take me to another surgery to like cut open the sides to like let the blood drain out so it can
Hmm.
like not be so squeezed. Um, it's called what's it called? Compartment syndrome. I was getting like the beginning of a compartment syndrome, which means that this anterior compartment was getting too swollen and the nerves were dying. Slash died. Yeah, like it's kind of a gray area what happened. So nonetheless, go through the surgery, wake up. Again, the doctor's like, you'll be all right. Like, it's just a protocol. You'll be all right. No big deal. So I'm sitting there in the hospital, like, obviously not happy, but I'm like thinking, whatever. This is still, I can wrap my mind around this. Like, I can wrap my mind around a broken leg and being on crutches for a while. Like, it's going to suck, but like, I can wrap my mind around it. Then
Hmm.
day 3 happens, day 4 happens, day 5 happens, day 6 happens. It's not getting better. It's not getting better at all. If anything, it's getting slightly worse each day.
Wow.
Um, and I'm like, dude, like I was only supposed to be in here like 2 days. Um, and so then they end up ordering this like special compression thing that like you kind of like belt on so it's really tight. And it's supposed to like help squeeze the blood out of your leg, kind of. And
Hmm.
so they ordered this thing in for me, and on Monday I put it on. So this is day 8. I put it on. 2 hours into it, um, like on the dot, 2 hours into it, I just feel like an insane pain in my leg, like in the back of my leg. It's
Mm.
kind of like you can almost imagine a calf cramp, but like mixed with like someone just setting your leg on fire, like on with like a torch. So it was like an unmistakable pain, like in absolutely insane, like honestly, possibly worse than the leg break itself, possibly.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm starting to freak out. I take the thing off of me. They call the nurse. I'm like, and it's like 6 o'clock in the evening, and I'm like, dude, I need to see a doctor. Like this hurts bad. Like I'm like barely able to talk bad. But
Yeah.
the doctors like they leave. They leave in the evening. So
Yeah.
they call one in, and they're like, okay, like we don't really know what's going on. I'm like, dude, we got to figure this out because I'm freaking out here. Like I'm freaking out. I don't know and yeah, it's just escalating worse and worse and worse every 5 seconds. Then yeah, so then maybe like 10, 15 minutes go by, and yeah, like all of a sudden I can't feel my foot at all at this point. I'm full fever. The days before this, I was like getting a fever off and on, like full fever. I'm like dizzy, dude. I'm like literally like dizzy. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like screaming at the nurses. I'm like, I need to go into surgery. Like literally, luckily I knew Spanish, but I was like, I need to go into surgery. Like, I don't care. I don't know what it is. Cut open my leg and find it, literally.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm like, at this point, I'm like actually finally like on my tipping point of like freaking out. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyways, so yeah, so I'm like freaking out. It's like 7 p.m. and they're just like, and this was just like the scary part too, is they're just like, they just didn't know what it was. Like they didn't know what it was. So like they couldn't, like with the broken leg, they knew what it was. And so it's like, okay, you're going to surgery, you know, you'll wake up. Like the best way I can describe the feeling going into this other surgery was like, if I don't do this, I might die. Like that's literally how I felt. And in a second, you'll find out that there might be some truth to that. Like, I felt like I was going to pass out one way or another, and I might not wake back up.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, like, they're literally wheeling me to another surgery, like, shrugging their shoulders, like, we don't know what's going on. Like, hope to see you soon, basically. So, and yeah, obviously keep in mind, too, I'm, like, just completely alone in another country, just, yeah. So, anyways, they put me in the surgery, or they put me through a few, like, CAT scan type things first, and then they put me in the surgery. I wake up literally, like, at 2 a.m., so, like, 7 hours later, I wake up, and I'm, like, literally just, the other surgeries I woke up, and I was, like, kind of okay. This one I woke up, and I just felt, like, the blood loss. Like, I just felt, like, the, like, amount of blood loss, and, like, I mean, I literally, yeah, I mean, yeah, I was, like, very worried that they had amputated my leg. Like, that was thoroughly in the conversation going into that surgery, because I was like, yeah, if they don't know what it is, they're just gonna cut it off. Like, they're just,
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so literally, again, yeah, I can't even describe, like, going into that surgery what I was feeling. Like, it's just insane. So I wake up, dude. There's literally a freaking tube in my penis hole, dude. There's a freaking vacuum coming out of my leg of blood, dude. Like, I can send you some pictures, not of the first thing, of, like, my leg stuff after, dude. Dude, and my leg is just wrapped like a mummy. Like, before, it was just a few bandages on it. My leg is wrapped all the way, and there's just like a vacuum coming out of it with blood, basically. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm literally looking down at it like, dude, I hope that thing works, because I can't move it at all. And so, yeah, then they wheel me back to my room, and I just knock out. Like, I'm also, keep in mind, I'm, like, just not really there. Like, I'm, like, I mean, as with any surgery, but, like, this one way more than the others. So I just, like, because right before the surgery, I just, like, sent my friend a voice message, like, I'm going into surgery, I don't know why, whatever. So I basically just, like, texted my mom and him. I was like, hey, I'm alive. And I just knocked out until, like, 7 a.m. So, like, another 5 hours. And then the doctor came in, and they basically said that when the compression thing was on, it like, fully busted an artery that was in my leg. So it was probably partially torn originally, and it just fully snapped. And so I was internally bleeding, which was swelling up my leg, which, like, yeah, like, I mean, it wasn't the femoral artery, but the posterior tibialis artery. I mean, if you can bleed out. So that's what I was feeling. So yeah, literally, and your leg can swell so much. So they had to cut my leg. I mean, I'll send you pictures, because I can almost try and show with the laptop, but, I mean, I guess I can try and show it. Basically, they cut it from here all the way down, and they took a vein from right here, and they put it back here. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and then the crazy thing too is that they weren't able to close it. It was so swollen, they couldn't close my leg. So it was just like an inch open all the way down my shin, for like another 8 or 9 days. And then they had to do a fourth surgery to just sew it up. So all in all, I was in the hospital for 20 days with 4 surgeries. And then, and yeah, keep in mind too, these doctors, and any doctor I've talked to since, still say that most likely my nerve function won't fully ever come back. Like, my toes right now, I can still only move them like this. And yeah, so therefore it is probably a career-ending injury, unfortunately. But that's what they say, at least. You know, I don't know how much I'm not betting against myself, but that's just that's the logical side, at least. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, dude. I mean, we could give a whole part three about this, but honestly, that's like the main thing. And then, I mean, I guess like the good news is that I mean, I had to still wait another like 3 weeks until I could fly home. But then I flew home, and I could went from just barely being able to crutch, then barely able to like crutch with both my feet on the ground, then maybe or like walk with the crutches, then barely able to walk with one crutch, then able to walk with two crutches with the brace in, and then now
Mm.
I can walk with no brace or nothing. I still can't. I definitely can't run. And I still can't. I still don't have that much nerve function and stuff, but my ankle mobility is getting better. The only thing is
That's
the bone. 5 months in, the bone is still not healed, so there might be some more complications with that, and hopefully no more surgeries. But it's just still, it's just still too hard to know. So yeah,
yeah.
it sucks because I mean it's just hard to like. I'd say best case scenario, like one more year and I could play again. Best case scenario, you go. Worst case scenario, and it's like 2 more years and I'm still not running. Like
Mm.
that's it. Could be anywhere between that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, just you sharing that story, like you mentioned there, I have to imagine there's so many other elements to that. Like, one, being in a foreign country with foreign doctors, and like it's not your primary language, and like your family's not there, and all that type of stuff.
no,
Like, there has to just be
yeah,
so many other
very
stressors
true.
on top of the fact that it's an injury of that
Yeah,
severity. But I mean, to hear that you made it out of that, and like you said, like there was a moment where you didn't even know if you were going to make it through one of the surgeries, like if you're going to live through one of the surgeries. Like, I think it's, I mean, I'm so happy to hear that obviously it went well for you, and like, there's still obviously a long way for you to go in terms of your recovery, but it's nice to hear that you're at least taking some kind of baby steps towards, like, all right, getting a little more function and stuff like that. And obviously we know, based on this whole episode, that the work rate that you would put into rehab or something like that, like no one's going to question the discipline that you have to be able to get back your function in terms of your leg and your feet again. And I'm sure that you're going to be able to get that back with time.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean honestly, like yeah, like you just kind of said there. I remember when I was in the hospital thinking it's kind of funny because I haven't really told that story that many times. I mean, I've
Hmm.
given like the quick version a few times. Yeah, I was in the hospital,
Yeah.
broke my leg. But I remember thinking like anytime I give that story, like if it ever sounds like I'm exaggerating, I wasn't. I'm
I
like
know. Yeah.
literally, I'll never be able to capture the amount of things that happened. Like unless maybe you've gone through it, then maybe you could relate. But it's just so hard to put into words. Yeah, it's just so hard to put into words. But I will say the one I guess positive note to maybe end on is, or at least
Mm.
end that story on, is going from like most likely, or maybe not most likely. I guess a lot of doctors say that if I hadn't gone into that third surgery like within that hour, the best case scenario was my leg was getting amputated if it was waited to the next day. So
Yeah.
coming from news like that, I can just tell you when I got home to Sacramento, and when I got to just take a few steps on the ground again, even with crutches by my side, and then I even just get to behind the steering wheel and just drive with my left foot with the windows down. Dude, I mean, it's just no better feeling. Like I'm just like
Yeah.
incredibly happy to be able to walk again. Like not that I ever took it for granted, but even just like I'm just so happy to just walk, and I can bike and I can swim and I can do a lot of things still. So if like not, it's just kind of funny because on one hand, like I don't want this to be the end. I'm not going to say that this is the furthest I'm going to get. I'm just going to keep getting better from here. But if someone were to have told
Mm.
me 5 months ago, hey, in 5 months you can walk pretty dang good and you can work out and do all this and that, I would have said, dude, you're crazy. That's probably
Mm.
like deal. I'll take that deal if that's the furthest I get in a year from now. Like 5 months ago,
Yeah.
I'll be like, big deal. So, and that end, I'm like, I'm honestly pretty happy. Like I like in the beginning, yeah, it was a little bit of like I didn't really watch soccer, or I didn't want to talk about it. But now that it's like at least there's clear signs of improvement, um, I'm pretty like I'm still like mentally at least just very happy. Like
Yeah.
yeah, just being
Yeah. Well,
able to just
that's
kind of
great to hear,
do
man. Like,
things.
I think it's great to hear that you're in a much more positive place with it, and I think it's like you said, you're going to continue to push yourself and get to an even better place with it, and yeah, it definitely makes us all think. The ones that do enjoy the game as much as we do, like we do sometimes take those little things for granted. But I appreciate you taking the time not only to share your entire story, but that story as well, because I'm sure it's not an easy one to talk about and to talk about now what you're kind of going through. But you'll have to definitely keep us posted with like how the rehab goes and how everything progresses, and wish you nothing but the best, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm glad I got to share my story, and yeah, hopefully some people listening can take something out of it. Yeah, so and yeah, hopefully a year from now or something, I can look back and say, "Dang, I made it out of that one now." So
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a story that was from Stephen. It really makes you, obviously all of us who have played the game understand how physical of a game it is, how um, dangerous it can be, in terms of injuries and what putting your body at risk week in and week out to play this game. But I think, I don't know, I never expected to hear a story quite like that, of that magnitude, and it makes you think to have to go through all of that in a time like COVID, where you don't have your family or friends around for your support, and uh, you're in the hospital for that long, you don't really know what's going on, you're in a foreign country. I can't imagine the whirlwind of the motions that you would be experiencing. Not even to mention the fact that your football career may or may not be over. As Steven kind of mentioned there, he's not saying one way or the other what football is going to entail for him in the future, but just going through something as a human level, that's a really crazy, traumatic experience, and I appreciate him for sharing that, and I appreciate all of you who are out there who have listened to that story and listened to all our stories, because I think each one can provide some value in them, sometimes in different ways. And maybe this one, was something a little bit different than your traditional just how to be a pro story. Maybe you got something a little bit different out of it. But I appreciate you so much for listening. Once again, if you want to continue to support the show, we do have a Patreon page that is going to be linked down below. It helps to grow the show. It helps to provide support to us putting out these episodes on a consistent basis. And I genuinely appreciate it if you would go and support in that way. If not, no worries. I will catch you guys on the next episode. We've got another one coming soon, and I can't wait to share that story with you. So I will catch you on